The ratings are small, the attendances are small, and the skinny little men on the roster are small. So it makes sense for AEW to start running smaller buildings in 2025. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling, and it is being reported by F4WOnline.com, the Wrestling Observer, that AEW in 2025 will now run smaller shows. So we just recently had a Collision show for December 7th be announced that it was getting cancelled. They were downgrading from a 2,500 seater arena down to like a 1.5 seater arena. I don't even think you can call these things arenas. They're so small. Arenas probably aren't the correct term. We'll go with buildings, okay? Because, I mean, when I think of the term arena, I think of something that can hold like 10, 12, 15,000. I mean, these are pretty much buildings that AEW are running at the moment. But we know that Collision was cancelled due to a lack of ticket sales. They've moved to a much smaller convention centre. So, you know what? Good for them. If you can't sell out the big centres, if you can't sell out the big arenas, then there's no point. You know, who wants a half-empty arena? It just looks dumb. Then you have to like tarp it off anyway, and it's a bad look. It is a bad look. But according to Brian Alvarez, they're not going to have that issue in 2025 because they're going to be looking at smaller venues, and the reason why they haven't so far is apparently due to technical issues, due to equipment issues, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that's exactly what Brian Alvarez is claiming. So he said the following, quote, "I'm going to be kind of vague, but it's happening. I just don't know all the technical details. I have been told that there is headway being made in running smaller buildings. Now you hear that and think, why does headway need to be made? Just book smaller buildings. Well, apparently there actually was a logistical reason why they were running a lot of larger buildings, and it had to do with the set and in particular the lighting rig. There was something that they had in their set that was basically too large and heavy to get into smaller buildings. So they have been working on retooling it so they can actually get their set into smaller buildings. So I think as the year 2025 kind of starts coming in, they've been talking about different ideas for production and everything like that. I think we're going to finally get the move. They're going to be smaller buildings. They're going to work on some production, and hopefully that will be a positive in terms of how the show looks, sounds, etc. on television, and they will save a lot of money. End of quote. So that's what Brian Alvarez is saying. I mean, when it comes to money, Tony Khan doesn't need to save money, but AEW as a business certainly does. So if AEW can save money, then good, because there's no point just spunking money up the wall. There's no point setting the money on fire, pissing the money away just because you've got loads. Okay, AEW doesn't generate a lot of money. Tony Khan's got a lot of money. If he can save it and save the company some cash, then it makes sense. As for the sound and the look, absolutely. You look at TNA, you look at NXT, both shows run very small arenas, but they've got a really good sound because, you know, they're packed in, and that's, I think, what AEW are missing. A lot of times we see AEW, they're in centres or arenas that maybe are built to hold like 10,000, yet they might even have like maybe 25% of that, 30% of that. So you've got like sometimes 60, 70, 80% of the arena that's empty, and it's just empty noise at the end of the day. It's empty space. So it's not good from a sound aspect. It's not good from a look aspect. You can see AEW, they always struggle with footage and camera angles because they're desperate not to show like certain sides of the arena, because you'll see that it's empty. With the lighting, they're constantly having to try and like dark out parts of the arenas because, you know, a lot of it is sitting empty. So if they can maybe just run smaller venues that hold 1,000 or 1,500 or whatnot, to me that's better That's better. Having a full venue, even if it looks pretty small. I would rather have a small venue packed out than have a large venue where it's like 60%, 70% empty. To me, that makes no sense. So, I mean, this could be a good move for AEW. Probably does hurt Tony Khan. It's probably his ego is going to be, taking a dig here. I know he's got a fragile ego, so he'll be upset and annoyed that he's having to downgrade or that he's planning on downgrading. But it makes sense, It's the venues don't matter. Getting the people in. Start getting people in, start getting your numbers up, start getting the ratings up, start getting the viewership up, start getting people interested in AEW again, and then you can go back to doing larger arenas. It's as simple as that. But in the meantime, what's the point? What's the point of booking these large arenas when you're not getting the fans and you're having to cancel shows? That's embarrassing. I would rather run smaller venues that you don't have to cancel than run the larger ones that you do need to cancel because you can do nowhere near the amount of tickets available to sell out. So, yeah, for me, this is a good move for AEW. It's something that they should have done a lot sooner. But again, according to Brian Alvarez, the reason for that was because of logistics and lighting rigs. I mean, I don't know if I buy that or not. It kind of seems like a load of shit. Could have just been Tony Khan's pride and he was reluctant to do it. But yeah, looks like going forward, guys, 2025, we're going to see AEW bite the bullet and basically accept that they can no longer, book these big venues. And look, for big shows, can they do it? Yes, of course. Maybe Dynamite, special shows. Maybe they can do 10,000 here and there. Their pay-per-views, I'm sure they can still try and get 20, 30,000 people. I'm not denying that, but when it comes to, especially Collision, Dynamite's one thing. They can probably do 3,000, 4,000 with Dynamite every week, no problem. But with Collision, I mean, it's a second-rate show that nobody gives a shit about. So going to big venues with Collision, the B show, it makes no sense at all. So anyway, guys, that's it. AEW, smaller venues, smaller shows. Will it make it better? Probably not, but I mean, it can't make it any worse. And if anything, it'll look better, I think, from a visual standpoint. Sometimes you see the smaller venues and it just looks more hardcore, it looks more legit. It's got that sort of gritty feel to it. So, yeah, like the Impact Zone did, or like the NXT in Orlando, Florida does. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Even the Hammerstein Ballroom, it was a small little venue. Why not? Why doesn't Tony Khan maybe put Dynamite on the road? You could have Dynamite be its own show where it goes on the road, Dynamite tours, but maybe Collision, you could have Collision in the same arena every week. That's a thought, maybe do something like that. Anyway, let us know what you guys think down below. Catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.